Good evening, everyone. I'm Metro Board Member Don Drummer, and I represent Maryland on the Metro Board of Directors. Welcome to this public hearing on Metro's proposed fiscal year 2023 budget and capital improvement plan. This hearing is convened by the Metro Board of Directors to gather public comments on two dockets. Docket B22-01, Metro's proposed fiscal year 2023 to 2028 capital improvement program, and docket B22-02 on Metro's proposed fiscal year 2023 operating budget and associated fare and service proposals. Notice of this hearing was made by publication in the Washington Post, and ads were placed in the Afro, AtRef, Dine, El Tiempo Latino, the Epoch Times, the Korean Times, the Washington Hispanic, as well as other social media and radio. And signs were placed in all rail stations, on buses, Metro access vehicles, at select Metro bus stops, and notice was also made online. Since this hearing is being conducted as a hybrid, offering both the opportunity for virtual and in-person participation, tonight's hearing will look a little different. At this point, we would normally have a presentation from our Chief Financial Officer, but in order to get the right to your comments and testimony, we have instead posted a video at wamata.com/budget that provides an overview of next year's proposed budget. I say again, at wamata.com/budget. We'll switch between those who are providing video testimony, those who are here to provide testimony in person, and those who are on the phone. For those of you who are providing testimony in person, in order to maximize social distancing, we're asking that you leave the hearing room after giving your testimony. You can watch the hearing live online at www.wamata.com/budget, and the video will be archived on Metro Forward YouTube channel. Those of you wishing to provide testimony should call 855-925-2801. I say again, 855-925-2801. After calling in, you'll need to enter a 4-digit meeting code. For this evening's meeting code, the meeting code is 8563. I say again, 8563. Once you're in the meeting, you'll be able to listen over the phone by pressing *1. If you'd like to provide testimony, you can press *3 and you'll be put in a speaker's queue. You'll get a message when it's your turn to speak. For those of you on the phone now, if you want to speak, go ahead and press *3 to get in the queue. If you're watching the live hearing on a different device, please make sure to mute the device so that there isn't feedback. You'll be able to listen to the hearing while you wait in the phone queue. In order for the public to accurately reflect who's providing testimony, I'd ask that you please state your name and any organization you represent before beginning your testimony. Elected public officials will be allowed 5 minutes, and everyone else will be allowed 3 minutes each. Extra time will be given for translation if needed. We ask that you stay within your time limit because we want to make sure everyone who wants to speak has a chance to be heard. I also want to note that each speaker is only able to speak once at each hearing. While you may have the option to rejoin the speaker queue, please note we cannot accept additional testimony at this hearing. I want to take a moment to recognize that this is where we listen to you. This is your opportunity to comment on the proposals, and we are here to listen. We will not be able to answer questions during your testimony. Before you begin your remarks, please state your name and the organization you represent, if any. Please note that all statements, including any personal information such as name, email address, telephone number that you might provide in the statement, are releasable to the public upon request and may be posted on WMATA's website without change, including any personal information provided. Further testimony may be submitted and must be received by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, February 15th. I say again, further testimony may be submitted and must be received by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, February 15th. Testimony can be submitted online at wmata.com/budget. And online, you have the option to complete a survey, write free-form comments, and upload a letter, petition, or other document. You can also mail testimony to the Office of the Secretary, WMATA, 600 5th Street Northwest, Washington, D.C. Again, to the Secretary, WMATA, 600 5th Street Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20001. Again, all testimony must be received by 5 p.m. on February 15th. We encourage everyone to submit comments online if possible. Your comments will become part of the public record that will be reviewed by the Metro Board of Directors. Changes to the options presented here tonight may be proposed in response to testimony received and subsequent staff analysis. And now it's time to call the first witness. As a reminder, please tell us your name, any organization you represent before you start speaking. We will begin with the first 5 speakers who are testifying via video. First will be Charlie Decker, followed by Brandon Curry, followed by Joanna Wormers, followed by Councilmember David Snyder from the City of Falls Church, followed by Carol Sinclair. After that, we'll turn to in-person speakers and then go to the phone queue before continuing back to the video testimony. Mr. Decker.
Just testing, can I say, everyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Drummer. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the board about the impacts these proposals would have for me as a frequent Metro rider. Given that I only have a few minutes here tonight, there is one proposal that I would like to focus on, and that is the proposal to reduce the cost of the monthly unlimited pass. I live in Montgomery County, Maryland, right off the Red Line on Wisconsin Avenue, and I commute into downtown Washington, D.C. every weekday during rush hour and peak service times. I take a minimum of 10 trips per work week. Currently, for my ridership level, the monthly unlimited pass is already a cheaper option than just adding to my Smart Trip card. The overall cost difference between the pass and just re-adding to my Smart Trip card, in my opinion, is marginal. And given the uncertainty of planning commutes during the winter due to weather delays or just general telework capabilities, to date, I have not yet purchased a monthly pass. However, should the monthly unlimited pass proposal be adopted, I will very likely become a regular buyer of the pass. The cost reductions in the proposal would make it a much more appealing option than it is now, as it provides a greater cushion for potential travel changes and more flexibility in personal financial planning and budgeting. As someone who does have a car at my residence, I prefer to drive for short distance travel and travel at night, but with a cheaper unlimited pass option, I would be more likely to choose the Metro, as it presents a compelling alternative to driving, especially with high gas prices that are still causing a pinch at the pump. I understand that the proposal will affect everyone differently based on the number of stops that you travel, but for riders like me, the total cost savings on an annual basis would be substantial and significant. In addition to the monthly unlimited pass proposal, I also support the proposals that would increase rush hour weekday service on the Red Line, increase weekend service, and reduce fares after 9:30 p.m., all of which will increase the likelihood that I choose Metro more frequently. So I will stop there. I do appreciate the chance to speak, and thanks so much for your time. Hope these proposals are adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Decker, for your comments. Now we'll hear from the next speaker. Brandon.
Okay, I don't see Mr. Curry on the line, so we will go to Joanna Wormers. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, I'm Johanna Wormers, and I live in Rockville, and I'm part of the Metro Electric Bus Coalition, comprised of 26 local and national groups. Our coalition wants the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority, known as Metro, to move more quickly to transition its 1,600 fossil fuel buses to a zero-emission electric fleet. The current fleet is made up of 55% diesel hybrids, 29% compressed natural gas buses, and 16% conventional diesel buses. Why do we want Metro to move faster? To protect public health and the climate. Like diesel buses, compressed natural gas buses emit hydrocarbons, which have been linked to lung disease and nitrogen oxides, the main component of smog. And smog exacerbates allergies and lung conditions, including asthma. In the greater DC, Maryland, Virginia region, transportation is the largest source of carbon emissions, accounting for 40% of the region's output. But Metro's target date to have all electric buses is 2045, which lags behind other big city transit agencies. Regardless, Metro is planning to continue to buy diesel and compressed natural gas buses until 2030. It also plans to increase the percentage of compressed natural gas buses in its fleet from 30% to 50%, and spend more than $5 million on a new compressed natural gas fueling facility, despite the fact that life cycle carbon pollution from CNG buses is at most 6% lower than that of conventional diesel buses, according to the Argonne National Laboratory, and in many circumstances nearly the same. According to a 2020 Sierra Club report, switching just half of Metro's fossil fuel fleet to electric buses by 2030 would save the agency $350 million in lifetime bus operation and maintenance costs, dramatically reduce toxic air pollution, and slash annual carbon dioxide emissions by more than 58,000 tons. The Sierra Club report also calculated that DC area residents would save more than $8 million per year in healthcare costs once the entire fleet is electrified. Metro's plan to continue to purchase fossil fuel buses until 2030 and slow walk adding electric buses to its fleet will condemn area residents to 2 more decades of toxic and carbon bus pollution. Other major transit agencies and smaller ones in our region are facing the same challenges to electrify their fleets. But unlike Metro, they're addressing them head on and have ambitious plans to transition as quickly as possible. There is no reason why Metro cannot do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wormers. Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker.
Our next speaker will be Falls Church City Councilman David Snyder. As an elected official, Mr. Snyder, you'll have 5 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you very much, sir. Before I begin, I want to make sure you can hear me. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I want to thank you. I want to thank all the members of the board, the general manager, the maintenance folks, the drivers for continuing to maintain our system in perhaps the most unprecedented, unpredictable times in most people's lifetime. So I want to start with a big thank you for all that you've done and all that you will do. I want to make just a couple points about the budget. First of all, I would urge you not to build in the $500 million deficit that is being built into the FY2024 budget. That kind of fiscal cliff could be disastrous. And to count on either federal, state, or local relief in the volatile political environment in which we're in today is not a good idea. So we would urge you to begin right-sizing the Metro system in FY23, not to maintain it at full service just to face a potential fiscal disaster in 2024. The second point I want to make is that as you look at ways to save costs in the future, please do not talk about shutting down entire stations. One doomsday scenario put forward by Metro several years ago was to close roughly 10 rail stations. If you do that, you'll permanently lose riders and potentially political support from major jurisdictions. The next point I want to make is to support your efforts to be creative with regard to passes and other ways to change the Metro business model to adjust to changing circumstances. Finally, the local jurisdictions have put a 3% cap on their annual increases in Metro funding. Again, in a highly charged, volatile political environment, please don't consider the ability to significantly go beyond that 3%. So I want to end with really where I began. The City of Falls Church is a charter member of the Metro system. We're a Metro compact jurisdiction. I've had the opportunity to advocate for Metro for more than 20 years, and I want to continue to do so as a member of TPB, NVTC, and NVTA. And thank you for the opportunity to address you. And thank you for all the work that the board does, the general manager, all the employees to keep our system running in these unpredictable and unprecedented times. Thank you again.
Thank you, Councilmember Snyder. Our next speaker.
So Ms. Sinclair was next on the witness list, but she is no longer on the Zoom call, which means that we can move to in-person witnesses.
Okay. On in-person witnesses, we'll start with Sonia Torres.
Okay. Sure. Yes, hi, my name is Sonia Torres, and I'm a Metro Access rider. Today, I'm here to advocate for free fares for Metro Access riders. Over the years, disabled people have been overcharged. And, we are on a fixed income, and basically, it's not fair for us that we have been asked to pay more than double. So I'm here to advocate for free fares for Metro Access riders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Torres. Our next speaker will be Lamar Lawson.
My name is Lamar Lawson. I'm from the PG County area, just a regular rider on the Metro system. I'll keep it short and sweet. Metro has accommodated basically 99% of what I've asked for when it comes to the bus and the trains. But the one thing I'm going to keep pushing for is please bring the B30 back. It goes from Greenbelt to BWI Airport. I do understand that Metro has to save money and they took the bus off for low ridership. But I thought the purpose of it running every hour was just for the basis of it running because of low ridership. It may not be packed, but there's still people who need that bus. I being one of them, and it helped me especially with the cost. because I can use my Smart Trip card on that bus to go back and forth from Greenbelt to Baltimore. And I even have kids up there to this current day. So to ask us to take the MARC train and run every 2 hours, or Amtrak, or the number 201 from the airport to Shady Grove, and then gotta take the red line for another 30 minutes in town to catch another train, that's just too much. So I'm just asking, if we can't get it back every 40 minutes, at least put it back to every hour like it originally was, and on the weekends too. The second thing is platforms. The lower level platform at Fort Totten and the platforms from Southern Avenue back to Branch Avenue on the Green Line, those are outside, they need to be changed. Like the rest of them are on the outside. That should be the next project in the summer. So in conclusion, let me say this to kind of, ease the tension a little bit. Metro has already given me the cake, so to speak, of what I've been asking for. Let's add the icing on top for me personally by A, bringing that B30 back, and B, fixing the platforms. Thank you very much.
Mr. Lawson, thank you for your comprehensive feedback. Our next speaker is Ansel Torres.
Oh, I want to sit. Oh,
I'm going to pivot you a little bit.
all right.
Pivot.
Now on TV.
Yes.
Oh my. Okay. The microphone.
Flip it over.
Ah, all right.
There you go.
Well, good evening. My name is Ansel Torres. I'm the president of the Torres Foundation for the Blind. I just recently established a blog called Metro Access Watch. I'm a Metro Access paratransit rider. I'm totally blind. I brought with me today my proposal, my submission to Metro for a proposal that I have put together promoting free fares for people with disability, paratransit riders. It's called Vision Zero. I have a vision for zero fares for paratransit. The Vision Zero that we all know about is not working for disabled people. We don't like it. This floating bus stops craziness it makes it harder for us to find the stops. And also the bikers that it's being done for, they don't really care about people like me or people who are elderly that walk on the sidewalk, because they ride all over the sidewalk and they frequently break the traffic lights. So my vision is that we need free fares for people with disabilities. The question is why? Well, one big reason is that in 2011, disabled people were hit with a 180%, get that, 180% increase in our fares. I don't know any responsible, I don't know any ethical business entity, except maybe for a criminal enterprise, that increases anything by 180%. And I dare any one of you on the Metro board to tell me, when was the last time you paid 180% increase for anything? Okay? And you're putting this burden upon disabled people who, many of them are unemployed or underemployed or discriminated. They don't have the income. And the question is, why are you doing this to us? Well, I have come to the conclusion that these fares are punitive. They're intended to punish us so that we don't use the system. I don't feel welcome at Metro, And I'll tell you why. You look at the budget for fiscal year 2023. The budget for WMATA is $4.4 million. Metro Access gets $56,000. What can you do with $56,000? The chairman of the board
Mr. Torres,
lives in, yes?
thank you so much. You've exceeded your time.
Okay, well, I am submitting my proposal here to you, so my Maryland representative, please accept it. Thank you.
Mr. Torres, thank you for your comments and feedback.
Thank you very much. I'll be in touch. Can I get your business card, sir?
I don't have a business card on me.
Okay, is there some way that I can reach you?
Shall we work through the secretary? Okay.
We have your information now.
Okay. Okay.
Our next speaker will be Mr. Bill Orleans.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I came tonight prepared to ask a question I asked recently elsewhere, and I'm told the answer is forthcoming. Recently, I was told by a station attendant at a train station when I was looking to obtain a bus timetable that Metro has discontinued their use. Recently, it was suggested to me when I raised it that that may be temporary only because of the pandemic, which burdens us all. That might be a reasonable question, but that's not how it was put to me initially, that Metro had made a decision to discontinue the publication of timetables, and it sounded pretty definite to me. It's a great inconvenience for bus riders not to have available to them the timetable. I hope when I get the definitive answer soon, it will be that it's only a temporary thing, and when we're free of this burden that we all share now, timetables will be republished and made available throughout the system and beyond the system. Similar question concerns customer service. If I recall correctly, and I haven't called in a while, but customer service 637-7000 in a half hour is going to be closed for the day. I've had the occasion over the years of needing to know when I'm at a bus stop unfamiliar to me when the next bus is coming, and I would call 637-7000 only to be told that the customer service office is closed for the day. This was a decision made by the board many years ago. I objected to it at the time. I still object to it. Customer service should remain open for the entirety of the working day, which is early morning, very, very late at night, at least minimally those hours, if not 24 hours. The cost to the system, I think, is minor as compared with the benefit to riders who would like to know what time early tomorrow morning can I catch this bus to go to this train station. Moving on, I've had a conversation earlier this evening here and recently about the bus transformation project, which was stalled apparently because of this burden we all share recently, but it's being revived. A bus redesign of the system is about to be initiated. I would like to suggest that in that initiation, we, the system and its riders, don't rely exclusively on outside consultants to lay the framework for the redesign, but we involve riders throughout the system. Lastly, let me add my support to the suggestions made earlier tonight about fare-free transit. I think it makes sense in the long run, minimally, to have fare-free bus transit. I would like to suggest that the system would benefit, the riders would benefit, the region would benefit, and those who would be paying in lieu of fares being paid on site, the business community would benefit. Metro should engage, as other systems are now doing, in a study of a fare-free system wide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orleans. At this time, we'll transition to participants via phone.
As of now, I have 7 participants on queue. I'm going to unmute your line in a moment. Caller 1503. Give me a moment. I will cue you in to start speaking. (1503), are you there?
Yes, I am.
Proceed.
Are you ready for me?
Yes, please identify yourself.
Very good. Thank you very much. My name is Patrick Sheehan. I am a member of the Accessibility Advisory Committee and also the Riders Advisory Committee. The first thing I would like to do is commend WMATA board and staff for the support that they have given both committees. The trust that you put in the committee, the work product that we get out, and support we get from the staff is terrific. We wouldn't be able to produce what we produce, recommendations to you, if we didn't have your support and the support of the staff. So thank you for that. I have 4 points I'd like to make tonight. The first is agreeing with the fair policies that the board has put forward. They are simple, sustainable, and very equitable. We agree with those proposals, so thank you for that. My second thought is that the Metro Access should have a fixed fare. We know that on the weekends, because of certain conditions we have now, that the fares on the weekends are a flat fare, and in the evenings after 9:30, it is also a flat fare. We would like to see that continue throughout the Metro Access system, so you have a flat fare that is going to be simple, sustainable, and meets the FTA standards. Proposal you can look at. We also agree with the recommendations of the Bus Transformation Committee. This committee has put a wide-ranging proposal together. We especially would like to see more buses in the Prince George's County area. For so many years, they have been hurting with respect to bus service. Disabled people over there make up 2/3 of the folks that take Metro Access. We would like to see a better fixed route system in Prince George's County. And then lastly, we're looking to see that we get fair equity in areas that we have folks with disabilities and disadvantaged populations where they have no buses, that we get better bus routes supplied to those areas so that folks can get around to and from work. So we're asking for increased buses in those areas. Once again, thank you so much for the work that you're doing, for the support you give us. We appreciate that, and we look forward to working with you in the upcoming year. Thank you.
Mr. Sheehan, thank you for your comments and feedback. Our next caller.
Caller ending in 8151. Wait for my cue to start speaking. (8151), are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
We can hear you. You may proceed.
Yes, thank you. Colonel Brown, good evening. This is Phil Posner, Chair of the AAC. These comments reflect input from members of the public, disability groups, as well as fellow bus, rail, and Metro Access riders. Transportation is an essential public service. The mission of WMATA is to provide safe, equitable, reliable, and cost-effective public transit while being sustainable as an entity. We approve of the board's equity initiative, as well as their new fare policies and the GM's proposal to make permanent the flat fare initiatives for the weekend and after 9:30 p.m. Please extend these flat fares to Metro Access for 24/7 in order to be equitable for the most challenged ridership that WMATA has. Please continue to implement the recommendations of the Bus Transformation Project report in an equitable and sustainable manner. It really needs to be implemented in PG County. Transportation is an essential service and right, and may be sustained by collaboration between stakeholders, local, state, federal entities, as well as private, business, educational, health, and charitable groups who benefit from delivering their workers and constituents. The hearing today before Congress amplified this. Thank you for everything the board does. And please remember, Metro Access, it's often overlooked and worried about. But we are an underserved community and need your help. And flat fares will benefit efficiency for WMATA, as well as giving a lifeline to those people who need it the most. Thank you so much. Good
Mr.
evening.
Posner, thank you for your comments. Our next caller.
Next caller ending in 1546. Wait for my cue. (1546), are you there?
Yes.
Please proceed.
Mr. Drummer, thank you. I'm Tino Calabia, an Asian American born in Washington, D.C. I chair the Bus Rail Subcommittee of your Accessibility Advisory Committee. I began taking Washington's mass transit as a high schooler in the late 1940s, and at the close of my second term on the AAC, I'll be age 90. The past 2 pandemic years seemed uneventful to many shut in and safely at home. But suddenly the pandemic revealed this. Tens of thousands of low-wage grocery store shelf stockers, home health aides, and hospital workers, and others are essential workers. Unlike office professionals at their home computers, essential workers couldn't stay sheltered at home. In fact, we learned that many low-wage members of communities of color had always been the silent majority of WMATA's bus passengers. So I urge the board to preserve bus lines like the P12, T18, and others that mostly carry people of color and low income. I suggest even boosting frequency of service on such lines. Moreover, as Alexandria's Dash buses are fare-free and ride-on buses will be until at least July, consider a fare-free policy for WMATA's buses, or one that scales down fares to each passenger's level of needs. By the way, Boston just announced that 3 Boston bus lines serving neighborhoods where low-income people of color predominate will be fare-free on a 2-year pilot basis. As for users of WMATA's Metro Access service, I support this recommendation of AAC Vice Chair Dennis Rush and others, including Pat Sheehan and Phil Posner, who spoke earlier. Consider flat fares and passes for Metro Access riders. Flat fares would be a matter of equity since they're already available for users of other WMATA services. Thank you for all the work you've done and for all the services that the staff has done. Thank you again.
Sir, thank you for your feedback. Next caller.
Next caller, phone number ending in 5374. Wait for my cue.
My name is Joanne.
53, you may begin. I'm sorry.
Hello, my name is Joanne Hatfield. I'm speaking for myself. I'm a resident of the district. My ideas, I'm here to share my ideas for MATA regarding how to have a more safe environment at Metro. If your mission is, your goals are to have a safe, reliable, and affordable public transportation, the number one goal is safety. And for that, I'd like to suggest, because I cannot see this on the line items, broken out by the budget, what is invested in safety. And I'd like to see greater police presence, having several at each of the larger stations and at least one walking the station platforms of the smaller stations. I would commute from DC to Silver Spring, and I would see police presence in Silver Spring. I'd like to see also police dogs, boots on the ground and eyes in the sky with cameras that they will respond to. Last week, Tuesday, I was a victim. 4 individuals followed me off the train and held me against my will. I've also seen when they want your property. I've also witnessed other dangerous encounters around the after-school hours of mean girls bullying other girls. So I would like to, bring the whole idea of safety to the forefront, that we invest more money in there. Also because the DMV is a magnet for protesters, rioters, people who want to make a statement against America. And I think for that reason, we need to have more presence. I think the station manager boxes should be police posts, and the position of the station manager should be replaced by customer service positions standing outside the booth that would filter not unacceptable items from entering Metro, like food containers and uncovered, unsecured beverages. Another thing, I'd like to see visible safety communication, and I recommend like a large metal permanent banner across the entrances above the turnstiles with a message like, by entering Metro property, you agree to being monitored, videotaped, and photographed for your own safety and that of others, to let people know, don't do bad things because we'll find you. Also, cameras on train cars wouldn't be a bad idea. Walmart has cameras in their elevators. I'd recommend also diversifying the workforce, and you can do that by hiring
Ms. Hatfield?
a mix. Yes.
We've reached our time.
Okay.
And I thank you very much for your input. Our next caller.
Our next caller ending in 5171. Wait for my cue. 5171, are you there?
Yes, my
You may
name is
proceed.
Denise, and I am the Vice President of the Sligo Creek National Federation for the Blind. I am the Vice Chair for the AAC Committee for WMATA and the Vice Chair for the Metro Access Committee. I want to speak about 3 points today. Number one, we need a flat fare for Metro Access riders. I have been riding for 21 years, and I've seen the fare go from $2.25, $2.50, $3, and then jump to $7. Then it was brought back to $6.50. We've been paying for a long time, and we need to be treated fairly. A flat fare is what we can budget and know what we have to pay. I was born in Washington, D.C., and started with D.C. Transit and 10 tokens for $1. You knew what you had to pay for 2 weeks to make it, and it's better to budget knowing this different fare each time is with a handicap, with no increases in Social Security and jobs. People are barely working. This would be fair. Not a special treatment, but a fair treatment. Number two, we need to strengthen the bus routes. I used to live in Capitol Hill, and I would catch the 40 bus, and then I would transfer, and then I wanted to go to Giffords Ice Cream all the way in Silver Spring. People, they're closed now, but you could go all over town. You knew the bus routes. You knew you could go anywhere. Now you are shortening the bus routes, extend them, strengthen them. They have stuck with you for all my life. I am 70 years old, and you can depend on that long before the rail system came. and we need a pass for frequent Metro access users. You have a pass for visitors, you have a pass for the federal government if they use so many or what. You have passes for everybody but Metro access. Please give us a pass. We're not trying to be treated special, just fairly. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Denise. To our next participant, in person, Mr. Amkar Josh.
Good evening. I appreciate this opportunity to speak before you about the budget. My name is Omkar Joshi. I'm a first-year student at GW. I think there's a few key factors that would really improve service and make it a better example for the country. These factors are safety, a better transfer between different modes of transit, and raising Metro worker pay, and better connection to the communities that Metro impacts. So safety means making sure that Metro rail cars and Metro buses are cleaned. I noticed a lot of like trash and whatnot sometimes when I would ride the Metro rail. This means having masks available for distribution, at least at every rail station, as well as hand sanitizer being more regularly stocked. It also means barriers between the tracks and platforms so people don't jump in front of them and onto the tracks like they did at Rhode Island Ave yesterday. And an example of this is at the Atlanta airport. The plane train provides a fantastic example. It's very important that the board recognizes need for safety to be better accounted for in the budget. And police are not a necessary expense when a plexiglass barrier can do the trick for a fraction of the cost. A second factor is intermodal connections. I have a U-Pass. The Metro often interfaces with many different forms of transit like ART and Fairfax Connector. My U-Pass doesn't work on these. I think it is Metro's responsibility to make these connections easier so people aren't pushed towards using rideshare or driving a car. And in addition, they could be better connected to things like Amtrak in Alexandria, for example. It's very difficult to transfer between the two for me. And the design should allow for more seamless connection so that Metro can be a true competitor towards driving on I-95. Trains should also not have headways larger than 10 minutes because that pushes people towards driving and hurts Metro's reputation. And the third factor is raising Metro worker pay. Workers will be far more likely to work towards better service if they're paid better. And in this economy, $15 an hour doesn't buy much in DC. And it's especially not enough to pay rent. I personally believe that employees should have a minimum wage at Metro of no less than $25 an hour. I think that's enough to pay rent in DC if you're with a partner. Maybe pick up a job on the side or something. But this also boosts the reputation of Metro and makes it a much more attractive employer and improves the quality of the work. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Joshi. Our next speaker is Alex Dawson.
Hello, my name is Alex Dawson, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm also a first-year student at GW. So personally, I'm actually not from DC, I'm from St. Louis, and when I arrived here, I just want to say that the Metro seemed absolutely incredible, at least coming from a place that had pretty much no public transportation. However, since I've arrived, I've learned about the many problems and things that have happened with the Metro, specifically that me as a GW student has encountered, and also that many citizens of the DC area have encountered. So of course, you've heard how people have expressed their needs and desires with how the Metro operates. And I'm just here today to just try to implore you and all the other board members to listen. So Representative Connolly of Virginia, he said that the Metro cannot afford to fail and that it is essential to the DC culture. And I find this incredibly important as it's not only a like a practicality, but it's a symbol of the Metro in the DC area, in our nation's capital. When I arrived, I was astounded by the Metro's efficiency and its span and the quality, at least compared to what I was used to. But I just want to say that we shouldn't accept those standards just because they're acceptable. The people using the Metro that we've all been listening to today, they know its shortcomings the best. So I just ask you, please, to listen to them and to take everyone's input into the fiscal decisions that you all are making. This is the nation's capital, and you should not be able, the Metro in the nation's capital should not only astound tourists like myself when I came to visit for the first time, but also provide your citizens with what they need, both to survive and to thrive in the city that they live. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Our next speaker in person is Dylan Hayter.
Good evening. My name is Dylan Hayden. I'm a freshman at George Washington University. And main thing I wanted to discuss with this board is just the factor of connection to the community. People within DC and around the world like to feel connected and welcomed. And if WMATA would take the initiative to place links to, say, jobs, fairs, and community events around their stations in their forms of transit, such as the buses and their trains, it'd be far more likely to retain customers and less likely to push people away towards automobiles and other things that congest the roadways. Additionally, WMATA could look into installing infrastructure like electrical outlets and charging stations across their various modes of transportation and wait stations. These ways would go a long way towards helping the community and making Metro a more respected public institution. And even tying this into safety and public health, advertising COVID vaccination sites and testing sites could adhere to the sense of safety and community care that Metro has come to be known for. Also, pairing capital bike share access points with almost all WMATA's bus stops and rail stations could increase the WMATA's kind of message that there's other ways to get around the city than using a car. This could also help engage with local small businesses and institutions that are pillars for the community. I also wanted to discuss in terms of accessibility that this board could look into adding more wheelchair accessible fare gates in Metro rail stations. Currently, there's a very limited number of these. Additionally, elevator maintenance seems to be lackluster. Also, I mean, it's important for everyone to take care of their community. It's take care of everyone in the community, not just some people. Before I yield the floor to other speakers, I just have one more point to make before I go, and I appreciate the patience that the board has. I'd like to see that in the interest of supporting people who have really late shifts or long hours, to increase Metro service to as close to 24/7 as possible. Currently, Metro's hours are, as I stated, inconvenient to some workers who have really long hours or night shifts. And it would just serve us to get more people in safer modes of transportation that are more convenient for their jobs if they can have that kind of access. So thank you so much again for having me. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Hayden. Our next participant is Paul Simelfort.
Good evening, everyone, again. My name is Paul Simelfort. I am a resident of Prince George's County, Maryland, and I am a member of the Accessibility Advisory Committee as the Metro Access Subcommittee Chairperson. Welcome this evening. I'm just hitting across a few points. As I did for the last two evenings, we support the board's new fair policy objectives, which are simple, equitable, and sustainable, as my other colleagues before me have spoke. We do fully support a flat fare for Metro Access that is simple, equitable, sustainable, and acceptable to the FTA, because we have a lot of riders and passengers who are on fixed income, and it would be helpful for them to be able to predict a fare that is flat that would help them. We are also advocating for a Metro Access pass, again, for users, because they'll, just to be fair and equitable, because everyone else that's non-disabled have a pass in different groups. We would like to have one too. Also, we support the implementation of the Bus Transformation Project report. And that is it, all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Simelfort. Okay. So our next caller.
We're going back to the phone line. So caller ending in 2410. I'm going to unmute your line. Wait for my cue. 2410, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Please proceed.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Brandon Curry. I had a little technical difficulty earlier, so I had to call in. I am a regular Metro rider. I just wanted to, acknowledge the proposals that they're having this year for the fiscal year going into 2023. I am all for it. I am also all for anything to make people have fair pays and longer bus rides if they need to, because I know when I worked at night, I definitely needed the extended line. So I'm definitely all for it. I appreciate everything Metro does, and continuing to move forward with safety in these, as everyone said, these unpredictable and unprecedented times. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curry.
And now to our last caller for the night. We have callers identifying at 7066. Wait for my cue. 7066, are you there?
Good evening. This is Joe Morrison, and I live at 8611 Laverne Drive, Adelphi, Maryland, 20783. I've been loyal customer for 43 years, and I don't have a car, so I depend on public transportation. Now, before they had a lot of cuts on the bus routes. My old R3 was serving my area, and now they got cut because of low mothership. I don't know if they're going to come back or not. Now, for the fare, it's okay. I like that $2. But the bus cuts is not good. It can be a limited area that I cannot get to because no bus is running. And I hope you can reconsider cutting more bus services. And thank you for letting me talk, and you can listen, and you have a good evening.
Sir, thank you very much for your input.
I have no more on the line.
Okay. So it appears that was our last speaker, and the hearing is now concluded. Testimony can still be submitted online or through the U.S. mail, as long as it is received by Metro by 5 p.m. on Tuesday, February 15th. Information on that hearing can be found at www.wamata.com/budget. Thank you again for joining us and for taking time to provide testimony. Have a great evening.